Hey, we're here, and it's 8:06. It's a little earlier than normal for the broadcast. We are happy to be here with you tonight. Just like I said, a little bit earlier, we decided this week to move our time from 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock. A couple reasons. Number one, we wanted to get going a little bit earlier and see if we could pick up some more viewers, so you can like this page, share it, tag a friend, push it out there. The broadcast is a platform of information, right? So you can put out anything goes on the broadcast. We've been talking about that from the beginning, but you can share this at a little earlier hour now so that everybody can be a little bit more of a part of it right there. So Tony Gonzalez, running for Congressional District 23, is in the house. Dina Serrano, it's good to see you. Ray Rodriguez is in. So welcome to everybody logging on. Again, you can start watch parties. You can like this page that's at the BrockCast SA on Facebook. We're going to be streaming, of course, from here on out on other platforms as well in the future, YouTube, Twitter. And we're going to try to grow this, not because it's just about the show, but it's about the issues that matter most to our community and things that are happening in San Antonio. And I'm telling you, we've talked about this nearly every week. What we're going to see when it comes to elections and politics in San Antonio, starting now, right, going into our primaries in March and then in the nation through November, is going to be the greatest political year we have ever seen. These are life-changing, nation-altering decisions that are becoming. I mean, stuff we're going to talk about a little bit today. I mean, impeachment articles from the Democratic Party today. We're going to climate change, and even things here in San Antonio: taxes, SAWS fees, what city council's voting on. All these things affect you, but you cannot just think about them just from a President Trump level because he pisses you off or he makes you incredibly happy. But you got to think about it all the way down to the smallest little committee meeting at the San Antonio City Council, who could be coming up with some harebrained idea that's going to cost you money. So the only way we fight things or support things is to talk about them. And that's what we're doing here with the broadcast every opportunity we get. So like it, share it, tag it, push it out there. Tonight, I am thankful, obviously, to be joined here in a little bit. We're going to bring on Willie Ng. He's running for Bexar County Sheriff. We're going to have a 10, 15-minute conversation just about who he is. And, of course, as we have for the last couple of weeks, talk about the Bexar County Sheriff's Office and what's happening at the jail. That jail's got a lot of good topics to discuss, and we're going to hit some of that tonight. But more importantly, we're going to get to know Willie and see who he is. But as always, we invite any candidate or elected official come on the show. We've had 3 or 4 already roll in here, spend 10, 15 minutes just talking about what matters most to them and who they are. So everybody's welcome. I've got Tyler on the camera. We turn over here to the left. We've got Charlie, of course, working, and a buddy tonight joining us was Corey, okay. Saulo decided to ditch us, right? So we're going to do this without Saulo tonight, and I tell you what, it's probably going to be the best broadcast we have ever had, because Saulo is where? Put the picture up. Yeah, that. So this guy today sent me this photo. I'll give you 3 guesses where he's at, and I can tell you right now that is not Corpus water. Right? That is actually blue and crystal clear. So that would not be Corpus Christi water or somewhere along the Texas Gulf Coast. That, my friends, is a colada from Hawaii. So Saulo and his beautiful bride headed down to Hawaii and Maui, and they are hanging out and having a good time. And he is watching us now, I'm sure, critiquing the show and telling us, and we'll be taking notes on what we're doing and not doing. So we love you, Saulo. We're going to miss you tonight. So tonight I am truly solo without Saulo, but I will survive, and it will be the best broadcast we've ever had. So, as always, a couple things we start off with, other than sharing this, and let's get the information out, is I always wear a particular shirt for something. So tonight I wore, my son's, check this out, student council shirt. So my son goes to Carl Wonke Elementary School. He's a Northside Independent School District, as I am a Northside grad. All right, here we go. I will be honest with you, my wife is a Providence High School graduate, but we'll forgive her for that. But I'm a Northside Public School graduate myself, but my son goes to Carl Wonke. He's on the student council, so this is a big, as we talk politics and other things, this is a big shout out to the student council. It's a funny story. During the election, obviously, I recently came off an election. I ran for mayor, came up a little bit short. But my son at Brockhouse did win an election this year. My son won the student council presidency of his school. So he's president of the student council. So one Brockhouse walked off with the victory in June. So very proud of my son and very proud of Luke. So that's to the student council, Carl Wonke, and all student councils meeting now across all our school districts here in town. Those are great little learning areas for our children, and my boy loves it. So shout out to Luke, who is probably finishing up karate right now and then has to go home and go to bed while I'm working on the broadcast. So thank you. We appreciate that. Now, let's get into it. I always try to start off with a couple of fun things, and normally it's a video. But the first thing I want to show y'all to kind of lighten the mood before we get into some topics, some heavy topics here, is put up the Troy Aikman tweet. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but Troy Aikman is a savage on Twitter. We know how good he is on Fox News. We know how great he was as the Cowboys quarterback, right? His Super Bowl history, what he did for the Cowboys. We all miss that Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, that trio right there that was winning Super Bowls in the early to mid-'90s. But now he's on Fox News doing his thing here with Fox Football. So check this out. This is so ridiculous. So the Athletic Kansas City puts this tweet up. In case you missed it, Patrick Mahomes has thrown 36% of Troy Aikman's career touchdowns in about 8% of the games. Well, that's a very good math. But I love when we see Troy Aikman's response to this piece. In case you missed it, talk to me when he has 33% of my Super Bowl titles. So that is like a world-renowned, awesome mic drop. I don't know, maybe he just went over there and just said, yeah, Kansas City, boop, you know what? Mahomes is killing it. The NFL MVP, we're not saying the kid's not great. Mahomes played Texas Tech? I think he did. I think Mahomes is a Texas Tech. Maybe not. I don't know where he played, but something like that. But look, great kid. We get it. He's playing fantastic ball, record-breaking couple of years. But all that's for naught if you don't win a Super Bowl. And Troy Aikman with the complete and total mic drop. I thought that was a great one to start up with. A couple other items I wanted to put up there. Put up, if you can, images 2 and 3 there on this Facebook thing. So I wanted y'all to keep an eye on this and think about, I don't know what's going on with this. This one's freaking me out a little bit. My dad told me, my wife is now watching, Jesse Trevino from District 6. Chris, it's good to see you. Kara as well. Salo is watching. Yes, I'm sure he is. He's watching us right now as we go along. If you've logged on to your Facebook app recently, you've noticed at the top has been this little register to vote tag. I don't know what this is, but I've been looking into it just to kind of keep an eye on it. But my father messaged me about it because he freaked out and he thought there was a conspiracy of the world going on. There probably is something funky going on with this. But today is National Voter Registration Day, September 24th, right? We've got primaries in March, and of course, general elections for our countries in November of next year, November of 2020. Going to be a big year like we talked about. But Facebook is registering people. If you can put those images number 2 and 3 up there. So check this out. When you click that, it's actually going to ask you for a lot of information. So be very careful here because you can register very simply through the Secretary of State's office and down here at Bexar County Local Elections Office. But Facebook is working with this turbo vote, this Democracy Works, and it's harvesting voter data. So as we know, Facebook does not have a fantastic history of data integrity. I mean, we've seen these problems, but I clicked it myself and I went through it a little bit. And go to the next image there. It says, so Turbo Vote, making it easy. We're a nonprofit service dedicated to making sure you always know when elections are happening and have the information you need to vote. Now, my big question would be, what is that information you need to vote? Voter guides or whatever. You can manipulate a lot of people in a voting pattern. When I checked it today, there was about 8.5 million people that had logged on or somehow or another registered through Turbo Vote on the entire Facebook platform. Now, when you have 1 billion people on the platform, and I don't know how many in the United States, maybe there's 100 million people have a Facebook account, maybe 8 million is not a ton, if 7 or 8%, but I'm seeing that is actually probably freaking people out. So let's keep an eye on that. We're going to do a little more digging. Yeah, right? I mean, Tyler just said that's pretty scary. I would consider it very scary if Facebook is, because we know what they did. Cambridge Analytica, we saw these issues in 2016. Of course, there's been investigations of the president. There's all this tampering and all these things for the last 3 years we've seen. But here comes Facebook trying to harvest voter data with a nonprofit organization. Very interesting. We should keep an eye on that. Not that I'm going completely, totally conspiracy theory, but I just did a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Last week, I also said we want to keep up a trend, is to text us or push us in on our Facebook page images of businesses that are flying the American flag. Put the Bill Miller's one up. I went for the easy slam dunk tonight. Obviously, I got my Chick-fil-A cup right here, which we always seem to have Chick-fil-A or Bill Miller's tea, which I'm willing to bet is literally probably every San Antonian and every day of the week. But I love this picture of Bill Miller's. Had the flag flying there. It's about ready to go dark. Bill Miller's is, of course, flying our flag proudly in the front. I was driving. If you think about it, watch businesses. It's just a good, I don't know. Look, when you serve in the military, that flag has an extra special meaning for those of us that are veterans. And if you love your country, right, you love that symbol of our country right there, that flag. Notice who's flying it. This is just I want you to be thinking about politics and government in our city. Notice who's flying that flag at a business and be thankful for that. So I used Bill Miller's because it was first and foremost right up front. And just keep an eye on it. I think it's worthwhile to, hey man, you fly that flag, that's where I'm going to spend $1 or $2. I'm going to spend the money at Bill Miller's anyway. Let's be honest here. I'm going to go spend the money there. But I think it's well worthwhile to recognize businesses who are doing that. So send us photos, what you see of people around town, businesses, or even your home if you're flying that flag. Let's make this, as we go into tough political season, right, next year, things are going to get really ugly. They're very divisive in our politics, divisive locally. In San Antonio and Austin, Washington, D.C. Let's just remember by thinking about that flag and businesses that are flying it, just about how great of a country we live in. No matter who tries to tell us it's backwards, it's broken, it's the worst it's ever been, it's racist, it's blank, blank, blank. Fill in the blank with people who say things about our country as if they hate our country. Be thinking about what those items are, and I think we'll stick it and close it up with the flag and just remember, this is what our country is. Find the positive and the best, and I think looking for a flag always makes sense as well. And then finally, I want to recognize, if you can put up image number 5. Which one's number 5? Ha! Okay, so Louis Garcia at AAA Bail Bonds. He's helping us. We're going to start doing some sponsorships for the show as well because we're going to grow this thing. We're going to take it out on the street. We're going to start talking to people in their regular day, their regular routine at their business. We'll go have lunch with you. We'll hold a show at your restaurant. Whatever it takes from here on out, we are going to grow this so everybody has information. But I got to give my man Louis Garcia at Garcia Bell Bombs the shout out. I absolutely love this guy. Him and his wife, they're classic. They're great people. They take care of folks. And he's jumped on to help us out to expand this as well. So Louis Garcia, I'm not saying if you tell him I saw it on the broadcast, you may get a Bell Bonds discount, because that sounds a little weird. But I'm willing to bet Willie's going to take care of you. Not that I've ever used his services before, but Willie's a great guy. Louie's a great guy. I got Willie on here in a minute. Louie's a great guy. Take care of him, his family. He'll take care of you, AAA Bell Bonds. We want to thank you, brother, for stepping up. We're going to have some other folks from Texas State Health Insurance. We've got other people are lining up that want to be a part of the show and help us just expand it. And that's what I love about what Louie and AAA Bell Bonds and other folks want to do with us, is put the information further out there so we can spread it further and get that out there so you can make good decisions in the next coming year. And finally, I want to talk about a few weeks back, I showed a video from my Ring camera about me dying from starting jiu-jitsu. I don't know what got into me. I've been running, and I figured I got to lose about 20 pounds of campaign weight. That is what it is. I'm the only guy that block walks during a political campaign and gains weight. And Willie, we're going to make sure we take care of you this year. We're going to bring him on in a second here. But put up the picture of me in my gi. Okay. I look like I absolutely got destroyed. Pretty much I did. Art Manzano there in the bottom left. So Ohana Academy, these are just a bunch of great faith-based, jiu-jitsu loving men and women, and it's just fantastic. I've been going there for about, I think I would say it was my 4th visit, and I didn't pass out. So it was progress, man. It was progress. I did get choked out, though. So I didn't voluntarily pass out from a lack of oxygen because I'm out of shape. Art down there in the left-hand corner is a longtime friend, brother in Christ, just a fantastic man. And he put me to sleep. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't really choke down. I immediately tapped to avoid from going to sleep in front of 4 dudes I didn't know and my friend Art. And a coach in there in the right-hand corner. But Ohana Academy, you got to check these guys out, whether it's karate or jiu-jitsu. What I'm learning about this is, you can be behind a desk. You can be a politician, you can be a thinker and a debater, and you can go do these things, and then you step on in another person's mat or in another person's playground, and you know absolutely nothing. And it is a totally humbling experience. But these men and women at Ohana Academy have been absolutely great to me, and they're not totally humiliating me. Although my son's not there. Like if my son's there, I'd probably have to step it up a notch or two, so I don't look ridiculous because he's a karate guy. But no, having a good time with it. Thank you, Art Manzano. You're taking care of me, brother, and teaching me things. Ohana is a great academy, and we just heard that from Drew right there. Junior was a neighbor of mine for a long time. Willie's the real deal. Look, someone's already asking for you. So thank you there as well to the folks at Ohana Academy. I just wanted to give them a shout out. And Art and his team just opened a new shop off of Marbach Road right there off of 410 in Marbach. Check them out. Come spend some time. And if you really don't like my thoughts on politics, you can choke me out. No, I'm just kidding. What's that? All right, I'm not advocating for violence in politics. All right, so we wrap that sucker up. Now let's get into it. I got to tell you what. I'm like I said, invite all types of politicians, elected officials. Anybody can come in here. You may think I'm totally ridiculous and clueless. Come on and tell me, and let me know what you think about me in person. I always welcome it, and I'm excited tonight to have Willie Ng come into the show. Willie, come and grab a seat.
Thank you for having me, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you.
They didn't get that handshake on the camera there. That was okay. Ooh, look at that. Hey, put that handsome little devil back up there. Vote Willie Ng for Bexar County Sheriff. Willie for sheriff. All right, man. Look at that guy. All right, that guy looks like he's law enforcement. All right, you can put the camera back on us now. All right, enough of Willie's the gratuitous shot of Willie Ng.
We can keep that photo up there the rest of the night.
Photo. Yeah. Brother, thank you for being here tonight.
I'm honored. Thank you very much for having me.
Just get a little closer to me over here. All right, I'm not going to arrest you.
I got to give.
I left the cuffs at home.
I got to give Tony Gonzalez and his wife Angel a shout out.
Oh, Tony!
You know, I sit on the board for CASA among many other.
CASA being
Child Advocates of San Antonio,
okay.
And they are volunteers, and they've been volunteers
really?
for a long time. Oh yeah, they believe in the cause and they believe in helping children. So I just want to give them a shout out and thank them for their services and helping the organization that's on
Gonzalez. The board. Can we stop talking about how good this guy is? I'm going to find some dirt on you, Gonzalez, and when I do, it's going on the BrockCast.
And speaking of Ohana, I'm getting back into jiu-jitsu as well. The Ohana that I go to is the one much closer to the house in Stone Oak in 1604.
Oh my God.
Jacob Diaz is the
Jacob Diaz, Ohana.
That trains me there at Ohana.
I tell you what, man, it's like I said, like I like sit on the dais at city council or in a city council committee meeting. It's like totally boring, right? And then you think that's like the world, and then you think you know your business, and you think you're really airtight, right? Like you got it going on, and then you go step on a mat.
Oh yeah.
And you're completely clueless. And I was gassed like 1 minute into the thing. It was absolutely crazy. But you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. I think jiu-jitsu, the mixed martial arts, is a necessity, especially for law enforcement. Yeah. You want to end the fight quick. And not do too many injuries, and jiu-jitsu allows you to do that.
Well, I ended a few fights quickly this morning at jiu-jitsu class. Of course, I was on the losing. I was the one that ended up quickly. I just wanted to make sure my opponent / friend wasn't exerting too much energy, choking me out. But it's fantastic. It's a ton of fun. So
it happens.
That's great to hear, man, that another brother that enjoys Ohana. So, look, man, let's get into it. I want to know a little bit. We've got a lot to talk about with Bexar County Sheriff's Office, and we'll hit that in a second. But I think what's most important for people is they know who you are, right? So give us the background on, what brought you into law enforcement, what you've done for the last several decades in law enforcement, and where you ended up your career and how it transitioned into this election piece.
So in the early 90s, San Antonio had the worst drive-by shootings in the nation, actually. And I remember sitting on the sofa speaking to my father and complaining about the news. He says, you need to do something about it. If you're going to complain about it, don't yell from the cheap seats. So I looked into it, getting into this law enforcement in San Antonio Police Department. I did that. I studied and exercised and get ready for the entrance exam and took the test in early '93. No, actually late '92 and got in early '93. So I was SAPD for 22 years. 7.5 of those 22 years, they actually assigned me to the Secret Service, where I was deputized as a federal agent. Jurisdiction was just south of New Braunfels, Texas, all the way down to Corpus Christi. And so I had a lot of federal cases, large money laundering cases involving the Mexican Mafia and Aryan Brotherhood.
So 22 years SAPD. What do you think? What did you learn from all that about wearing a uniform? People I don't think understand, because law enforcement today gets a horrible rap. I mean, and it's changed since probably, I would imagine, from when you first came on the department
absolutely.
To what it is today.
Oh, absolutely. So, when I was on the streets on patrol in the west side and on the east side, there weren't body cams. You didn't have very few traffic vehicles had dash cams. and the technology. You didn't have a lot of cell phones and people recording officers trying to make arrests or making traffic stops. So it was much different. The culture also was much different. With the law academy was much different. Everything's much different, and of course things change. As time goes, things change.
Sure. So you retired out of the department, then you ended up working with Bexar County yourself.
Yes,
right?
and actually that was not planned either. I was really talking about retiring from the San Antonio Police Department and running my business. I started a business in 2003, and it was just started with one employee, myself.
Small business owner,
small
too.
business, yes.
Okay.
I worked out of my garage and my kitchen table, and when I wanted to do employee interviews, I met them at a Jim's at the Blanco in 1604 and conducted my interviews there. And I started with just one employee. And I grew that business. I understand I'm fiscally responsible, and I grew it to a multi-million-dollar company. We're here in San Antonio. We're in Austin, Houston, and Dallas, and Fort Worth.
I got to tell you, I didn't really, it wasn't on my notes, and I don't know if people would realize that. I think that's a huge point, because not only are you law enforcement, but you started a small business, the smallest of small business.
One person.
Yeah. And you've grown it to a multi-million-dollar company. So how many employees at the peak would you have?
We had right about 200 at peak.
Holy
right now we're sitting
cow.
probably right about 150, 140.
Because one of the things I think what we see is when a law enforcement person decides to run for a law enforcement elected office, they probably don't have that breadth of management experience, because you're not managing 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 people. And you don't understand leadership skills, right? You don't build those things because you're an officer, right? It's you and a partner, and you're on patrol, or maybe you're assigned to a Secret Service detachment like yourself. But I got to think, being a small business owner and then growing that to, that's about a medium-sized, small to medium-sized business, multi-million-dollars worth of revenue. Talk to me about those things you learned from being a small business owner, because that's something that I don't think anybody else in the race can point to.
Right. You learn to be fiscally responsible, and you learn to treat your employees and value the employees. I tell my supervisors that, look, you got to understand something, that out of my supervisors, they all walked out, and the business will continue to run. But if we lose 100 plus employees, we would fail. What does that mean? That means those employees, the boots on the ground, are far more important than us as leaders of the organization. And that's just the reality of it. And if you don't understand that, especially as a business owner, you're going to fail. You have to understand that your boots on the ground are more important. And when it comes to providing what they need, you can't on top say, this is what you need. You have to rely on the bottom and work from the bottom up to say, what is it that you need? How can we make you work more effective and efficient? I love the small business. Matter of fact, I've been on the Hispanic Chamber board, executive board, for 8 years. And the area that I'm the committee of, the chair of, is small business. I love helping other small businesses succeed. A lot of politicians say, and it's the truth, right, that small business is the backbone of this organization, the city. It provides
80% of the jobs, or something like that.
Actually, it's like 90% of the jobs here in San Antonio are from small businesses. So it's critical that and it's important that we help small businesses be successful. And these small businesses that start here are not going to leave. They're not going to go to Austin, or they're not going to go to California, or they're not going to go to Florida. They're going to stay grounded here. This is their foundation, where they're rooted and plant their seeds. So it's important to help them be successful. So not only have I been growing my own business to be successful, I help other organizations be successful, and even nonprofits.
I didn't know you sat on the Hispanic Chamber Board as well. Let's answer the elevator pitch, the 1 minute here. What the heck are you doing in this race? I mean, political campaigns. So you got a primary, so it's a bit different. You're going to primary in March,
right?
And then you're going to turn around on election day is the first Tuesday in November,
right?
And God willing, you're going to see what your path through there. But talk to me about what got you into the race in the first place, and what made you say, yeah, you know what, no more sidelines on this one. It's time to get in.
I think that it has a lot to do with, number one, I was contacted by a lot of individuals, not just in this particular year, but even in 2015. In 2015, I was approached when I was working as a chief investigator at the DA's office to consider running, and I told them no. That I felt that my purpose at that time was the DA's office, to help the organization there restructure, create good policies, and change uniform, and actually help morale within the DA's office. So I was not interested in it at the time. And come now towards 2018, summer of 2018, I had more and more people coming to me again and saying, would you please consider running for sheriff? And I think they see the value. They see the value in my education. They see the value in what I know in running business and in being fiscally responsible and understanding budget, and also being a leader. As you mentioned before, you can be a supervisor, for example, for an agency for years and years and years, but that doesn't make you a leader. That makes you sometimes a manager, because someone's delegating the work to you. They're telling you what to do, and you just execute.
Yeah, it's not like a law enforcement person has great leeway to do whatever the heck they want to do, right?
Right.
They're not sitting there managing an organization it's a very rigid, general, manual-driven environment.
Absolutely.
Rules and regulations. Public safety is built around that. So then I guess you elevate into this running an entire sheriff's department. I think we see those problems right now from that leadership piece. And we've talked about this. We've got a couple of pictures. If you could put up some of them, we'll just go through them here. This is some of the stuff we've seen, and you've commented this, and you had some press statements out as well. Mistaken inmates released may have been intentional. This one concerns me, and we'll talk about that in a second, because the sheriff is alluded twice now to blaming his employees for trying to make him look bad. We'll get into that in a second here. Next one we got, what do we have here? 6 Bexar County inmate deaths in 8 months. That number is continuing to grow. I think we're at now 13 people. The next one, if you can push on the next one. 13 people have been released accidentally this year out of the Bexar County Jail. We'll talk about that one. Look, Judge Nelson Wolf, and if he was a hired employee, he would not be running the jail. Wolf implores the sheriff to fix the jail. That is a tough comment coming from the leading Democrat in the entire county, right? The judge is a Democrat, the elected Bexar County judge, saying that, you know what, if the sheriff wasn't elected, he'd be gone. And do we have one more photo? Oh, no, that's a sneak peek of the next issue. Don't go there. Almost made a mistake there and started talking about climate change.
Yeah.
So, look, I get it. You're in a campaign world and you're trying to win a primary, but when you see that stuff, and one of the questions, 2 questions really, that people asked was, what is the first thing you would do if you're elected sheriff, and what, just tell us. I noticed this about this, and these are things that I think should change. No commitments. I mean, I'm not asking you to make promises tonight. I'm saying, what do you think just looking at the department, seeing those things that you say, man, day one, I'm going to get in there. These are some of the things I'm going to stand for.
Right. So let me just comment really quickly on Nelson's post or his comment. I think Nelson and several other people have realized now, they've come to understand and accept the fact that this particular position should not be about politics. It should not be. When you're talking about public safety, you should not incorporate politics in that. I know it is a political position because you're an elected official, but as a public safety person, you're protecting everyone, regardless if you agree with who they sleep with, who they pray to, and how they live their life. It makes no difference. When you dial 911, we're going to respond to you and provide public safety.
And I just want to, before you move on, I got to tell you something. You hit the nail on the head, because I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. It seems as though the Bexar County Sheriff's Office is so political. It's a sheriff only for Democrats, and that to me is what I sense. And I said that a couple of weeks ago, and people responded well to that comment. They're like, you know what? I agree with you. Like, I don't think that. I mean, because the issues that the office is highly politicized. Now, part of that is because the sheriff did hire his campaign manager and put him on staff, right? So it's so highly politicized that I think it's the wrong P word. The P word's public safety, right? Public safety. It's not politics. Right. And I think that's a heck of a point, Willie, which is get out of the politics and get into the safety, right?
You have to. Look, there's a lot of things that I do for the community that I don't talk about and I don't post, but I'm going to say it because I wanted to people to know that I'm a man that not just says it. I'm actually a man of action. So my business has been very successful, and I really believe and truly believe that my blessings that I've received through my lifetime is not for me. When I pass and leave to this earth, those belongings aren't coming with me. It's so that I can bless other people. So I have established scholarships. I give 6 scholarships away every single year. We have a nonprofit, my wife and I, that we support animal care, cancer patients, because I battled cancer in 2017, and we could talk about that if you'd like. And so I am about helping people. Whenever I help someone, I do not care, and I do not ask the question of what party are you associated with. I don't ask who do you pray to. I don't ask who you sleep with. I do not care. If you're a person that can tell me why you're in need, whether it's education initiatives, whether it's healthcare, whether it's animal care, whatever it is that you need, I'm going to help you, because that's what I feel my purpose is. And that is what actually drew me to make up my mind to run for sheriff. Not because I'm position driven, because I can care less. I can care less about the stars. I can care less about being on TV all the time. What I care about is public safety. What I care about is increasing the morale. So the question is what I'm going to do when I get into that office. There's a lot to do, right? The morale is broken. These deputies don't want to be at work anymore because they don't feel that they have support from the leaders. Now they don't want to be at work. Now they're having to work even more. When Susan Parmelo was in office, they had 8 hours of mandatory overtime. Now they have 8 hours more mandatory overtime plus 8 hours of forced overtime.
$8 million of overtime a month or something like that?
I don't know the numbers. But I do know that in 2018, I believe it was approximate $7 million over budget. And this year's, I believe, is $4 to $5 million over budget.
It's the same thing with the San Antonio Police Department, too. What we see is people don't want to be in law enforcement anymore. Not everybody, but it's a tougher business to be in.
Right.
The San Antonio Police Department has historically, over the last 3 to 5 years, been running $15 to $20 million of overtime to cover for the lack of staffing. And I noticed, too, and somebody just asked a question here, and it flew off the screen, but I want to make sure I mentioned it real quick. And it was it's the jail. The jail piece is what we discussed. And a lot of people are seeing that in the news right now because people are straight up walking out of the Bexar County jail. So you recently completed some training as well as a jail administrator. So explain to us your training in the jail administrator piece and talk to us about how you, one of the questions is, as ridiculous as it sounds, right? This is going to sound simple. How will you keep prisoners in the jail? I swear to God, that was a question. But just walk us through the jail administrator piece and what that means and what you see. Because that's a huge role for the
absolutely. It's a big responsibility because it's a lot to do with public safety. When you have these individuals who are escaping, remember a few years ago you had a 3 capital murder or murder suspect that climbed out of the front of the jail on the sheet, right on the front by the entrance door. That's a concern of public safety. If they get out and he harms someone, if there's a victim out there that they want to go back and try to kill or maybe attack or assault or a witness they want to quiet up, that's a public safety issue. We need to do that. Now, I'm not even in office, right? I haven't even been elected. But as my responsibility to understand the responsibilities of the jail and the detention officers, I took the jail administration certification. It was not easy to pass. It's a very difficult exam.
You have to pass like 100 or something?
There's 75 questions, and you can't miss a single question.
Wait, what's up with that?
No, I don't care if you make a 98.
You got to get 100.
You have to receive 100. But as a leader, how can I delegate work to you, Greg, and I don't understand what you're supposed to do? If I say, okay, Greg, you're in charge of this area, but I don't understand what you're supposed to do. So how do I hold you accountable?
The judge did say to hire a professional jail administrator, but the sheriff said, I don't need to do that, right? And pretty much told the judge to stay in his own lane. Like he told the judge, man, mind your own business, old man. I'm running the jail over here. I got it. And we've got a deputy sheriff who's running the jail, who's a certified jail administrator. Same training you finished in, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting thing is through my studying for this jail administration certification is that the commissioner's quarter is actually in charge of the safety of the inmates. So you can't, as the sheriff, tell the commissioners and the county judge to stay in your lane because it's their responsibility, and it's in there.
I'm glad you said that.
It's in the material when you study it that the commissioner's court can actually intervene when they feel that there's a safety or a concern with the jail facility.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned that through studying.
Let's wrap it up and bring it home here a little bit. First of all, real quick though, what do you think about gun buybacks? We talk about this one all the time. Somebody did ask me about the disarm civilians. I would like to ask if he thinks it's right for the federal government to disarm civilians, but not anybody else. How do you feel about the debate running in the city right now about and just in mass shootings?
So I'll give you an example, and I use the analogy of my cancer. Right, is that when I first found the lump on the side of my neck, it was a symptom of something, right? And I kept going to the doctor, and I was misdiagnosed a few times. They asked me to take antibiotics, and I kept going. I was very persistent to find out what is causing this symptom. I want to know what's causing this issue. So finally, I convinced the doctor. I was very forceful, and I wanted a biopsy. Well, once I did the biopsy, then oh my gosh, you have stage 4 cancer. And that was in 2017. So I'm battling stage 4 cancer. I'm working in the DA's office. I'm running the business, and I'm still working on my PhD. You have to be able to buy it. You have to be able to biopsy things.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm just like stunned at the workload. But I mean, gratuitous plug for the overworked over here, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
You have to biopsy the issue. So the gun issue, for example, it's not about people purchasing weapons and then using those weapons to harm people. It's about the mindset of the individuals who have these guns.
There you go.
And in law enforcement, I've seen it. Most of the guns that we recovered from drug dealers and from gang members were stolen. You had the serial number sawed off or scratched off, and we tracked, some of them we even tracked back to the law enforcement, where they broke into a law enforcement officer's vehicle and stole their weapon from there years ago. So I don't believe that that's going to help the issue, and I think McManus said the same thing.
Yeah, he did. The chief was all over it, and look, and I think that we've got a challenge in the jail system. We got a challenge at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. These elections oftentimes, to your point earlier, become highly political, and sometimes they don't end up being about the issues at all.
Right.
They end up being about personal stuff, personalities, and unfortunately, that's our politics nowadays, and it can get very divisive and very ugly. Obviously, this is going to be a tough election for a lot of reasons. So what I'd like you to close out, just give us the best closing argument you got. After you introduce yourself, people know who you are. You're at the beginning of a campaign. The filing period, I think, ends December 9th. We'll know everybody who's in for the March primary. The sheriff's office is a big job, and it requires partnership with the city, with the county, with the judge, with the mayor, with the city council, all these people combined, commissioner's court. Close it out with us on what makes you the bright person for the job.
Well,
so people know what it is.
Because of all the attributes, and I say that humbly, I'm not narcissistic, but it's the reality of it. All my life, I've built up this resume, not for anything else but to be able to help other people. And the only way to help people is to be knowledgeable of how they need help. From the small business, being fiscally responsible, being very successful running a business, from the law enforcement, the years of not just the local, but the federal side of it, working with federal, and then working at the DA's office as a chief criminal investigator, being that leader and making decisions and making changes, but also being able to sit down at the table with the commissioner's court, whether we agree or disagree, and to have that conversation and justify why we need these changes, and have that conversation and not fall into political pressure. Again, this is not about politics. This is about public safety. And if we don't get it right, there's not going to be prosperity. You look at the maps and the zip codes, and you know this from city council. Mm-hmm. If you look at the zip codes and you look at the high crime areas, there's no prosperity in those areas. There's no economic development. There's no workforce. You have high school dropouts and you have teen pregnancy. We have to address those issues. Again, not the symptom, but the cause. What's the cause of this thing? And that's what we need to do. And I am the person to do it. Look, I don't dislike Javier as a person. I don't want to beat him up as an individual. People get offensive when I talk about the issues. If they get offensive,
I agree with that.
Yeah, if they get offensive when I talk about the issues, not the person, the issues, then they should be offended that he's the sheriff. Period.
That's a good point.
That's the reality of it, right? If you're offended by what I say, the escapes, the fiscally irresponsible, all the deaths in the jail,
all process stuff.
It's all process.
It's not personal. It's process.
It's not personal at all. And I mentioned that in the interview. This is not personal, and I don't believe it's the people issue. It's the policies that are in place.
People will get, look, brother, we wish you the best of luck. Campaigns get personal, unfortunately. I can attest to that 100 times over. You can have the best ideas possible, way better than your opponent, but at the end of the day, you just got to get to as many people as possible and talk to them and spread your ideas and message about what you think's right for the sheriff's office, what you think's right for the jail. We appreciate you coming on here and talking to us about that.
I'm honored to be here.
We wish you the best of luck. And this guy's been up since like 6 a.m. running ragged, doing interviews and campaigning. So for him to drop in with us here and give us some words of wisdom on who you are, we appreciate you.
Absolutely, I wouldn't miss it.
Get the heck out of here before I have to put you in a submission choke. I'm just kidding. Have a good one, brother. We appreciate you, man.
It. Thank you for everything. All right, take care. All right, guys. See y'all later. All right.
That was a little bit of a messed up cool guy handshake there. All right, man. I got to tell you what, that dude is busy. So for him to show up tonight, thank you, Willie. And I think he's done a great opening or opportunity there. Just to get to know him. And that's why we're asking candidates of any variety, whoever you are, come on to the show and talk to us and put it out there what you stand or what you believe. And I think Willie said a couple of important things. Number one is it's from a sheriff's perspective. The recap I would tell you, if I'm looking at it, I said it's public safety over politics. And I've said this before, that the sheriff's office is highly political. And he's a sheriff for Democrats only, and I think that's a major problem. When you get in that job, it's unfortunate you got to run in a partisan piece, but it is what it is. But then when you completely ignore, maybe not completely, but when the Republican folks and conservatives and all this stuff, if they don't feel in that role as warranted or as respected, I think it's a problem. And when your sheriff shows up to all these Democratic events and his staff members working against other opponents, right? He's got a hired campaign manager on his staff who works against other elected officials. That sets a bad tone. The sheriff's office should be about full and total support for everybody regardless of political party. And I think you got to be much more inclusive. And then, so that's one part. And then the process part. I think it's interesting that Willie took the jail administrator course and did that on his own accord. And I think his history as a small business owner, I think is going to make him a formidable candidate. There are other candidates on the Republican side that are running, and there are multiple announced candidates on the Democratic side as well. So we look forward to. We invite anybody else who wants to come on. We appreciate it, and thank you to Willie. Let's get for a couple of updates here. We got to get moving now. That was just a good discussion, man. I love public safety and talking about it, so thank you for that. I want to give you an update on the gun violence town hall that we live streamed last week. So we're going to continue to try to do this on the BrockCast, because when we took the show on the road, man, we had, I think at any one time, we had 510 people on the stream watching it. And I got to tell you, man, we outdid KSAT. Like, we were streaming more people live at the gun town hall than anybody else. So I think it's fantastic that we go on the road to build the platform. It's got tens of thousands, 20-something thousand views already. It's a 2-hour podcast, live stream. But what I saw at that gun violence town hall was, and this is huge, it was put on by Councilmember Manny Pelaez, and the piece of it was really gun policy. On the board were Councilwoman Haverda from District 6, Councilwoman Sullivan, District 2, Ray Lopez from State House 116, I can't remember which one he was first. I think it was 116. But, and then the mayor showed up for half the show, and Councilman Pelaez himself and Councilman John Courage. And there was 200 people got in. I think about 200 got into the event, and another 100 couldn't even make it in, and they kept coming. So it was so packed that people got turned away. I got to tell you, it was like 90% people in support of Second Amendment rights, anti-gun buyback. So a lot was voiced in that meeting. But it was well managed. I think the town hall was fantastic, because that thing had all the ingredients to go south quickly. But I think Councilmember Pelaez kept a good stream on it, let every voice be heard, and we streamed that. You can watch it on the BrockCast page, about 2 hours, but you can learn a lot from it. But I want to give you a couple of snippets that we pulled out why I think the city council flat out doesn't get it with gun buyback. We hope, and we're going to continue to push that this goes down and doesn't get passed. We know the mayor, Councilman Courage, and Councilwoman Sullivan are all in on gun buyback. But there are other council members who still have to make a decision. It's $400,000 of asset forfeiture monies. Now, the mayor will tell you that money is not taxpayer money. He'll tell you that taxpayer resources are not being spent on gun buyback. That is a lie. That is a bald-faced lie. It's a word play. And what it is, if you look at it, if the money's coming from asset forfeiture dollars, right, and we have that cash, that's taxpayer money. That money just doesn't belong to Ron Nirenberg. It doesn't belong to the chief of police. It's taxpayer money. $400,000. It ain't going to fix every street or sidewalk in a neighborhood, but it's better spent on something else besides buying back guns. But a couple of things I saw that night to help you understand why people don't get it. Sutherland Springs, we remember that horrific mass shooting. 26 lives were lost, 20 people wounded. They just recently rebuilt that church. But Steve, I'm going to play this video. This is the hero of Sutherland Springs, Steve Wilmot. He engaged the active shooter and put 6 bullets in him and ended his crusade to kill people that day in Sutherland Springs. Born and raised in that neighborhood. He was there that night. Did an interview with us afterwards. If we could run Steve's video so we can hear it, I think it'd be great. Just a couple of minutes, man. Tell us what you're hoping to get out of this and what you thought of the town hall.
Well, I was hoping to get across that, Governor Abbott has put out some good proposals that really make a difference. And they're proposals that actually look to prevent guns from getting into criminals' hands and not to penalize law-abiding citizens. Right. And it seems like that's what all the politicians nowadays want to do is, when something happens, well, let's just limit the law-abiding citizens.
All right, Sutherland Springs, it's Steve's hometown, born and raised there, lived his entire life there. What made you act that day when that active shooter hit your town, your home?
I can tell you that if there's not anything left worth dying for in this world, there's nothing left worth living for. And my community is worth dying for. My community is worth stepping up for. And the men in this room, most of them would react the same way.
Well, Steve, we're proud of you. Steve put his life on the line protecting his community, and you took it to task. You put somebody down that needed to be put down because it's 26 people. 26, yes. 26 dead, 20 wounded, but it wasn't for you, it would have been far worse. Thank you for what you do for our community and our city. Your points are on. We appreciate you, brother, and we're proud of you. Thank you for being a Texan. Just thank you for being there, period. Thank you, brother. So Steve Wolford, they announced him at the town hall, 100% standing ovation. I mean, even Ron Nirenberg stood up for him, right? The anti-gun guy. I mean, they stood up for him because of what he did, right? So he put it out there. He put his life on the line. And if you listen to him, I think that's so powerful what he said. If there's nothing worth dying for in our country any longer, what's there worth living for, right? What does this mean to us? And I think his point, too, because something happens, we got to be very careful in a knee-jerk reaction to remove our rights. It's like when the Democrats and Republicans were together on the Patriot Act all those years ago. It made sense at that moment because we'd suffered a horrific terrorist attack. But at the end of the day, it became so invasive. Once you give up some of your rights, right, it's a slippery slope. Once you relinquish some, it becomes all. And when you relinquish it to the government, you never get it back. So those rights that we have in our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, they're solidified, right? And we have a process to fix that, by the way. And it's not Ron Nirenberg and the City Council changing zoning rights or trying to do what they can with gun buyback. There is a right and a process for constitutional changes. You got to follow it. And it's a very onerous process. It takes decades to make it happen. And there's a reason, because those rights that are built into our Constitution are solid. And like Steve was saying, what Mr. Wolford was saying, don't give up little pieces of them. And before you know it, you're not going to have those. The rights are gone, and they will never return. And let's be mindful of that. I think the gun town hall went great, but even then the council members who were sitting there flat out don't get it. Councilman Courage, respect the man, but he is wrong on gun buyback. Councilman Sullivan, wrong. Councilwoman Haverda said that she will not be in support of gun buyback because it doesn't make sense. We could do things with better. And here's the answer, what the mayor said if he owned a gun. Can you play that short clip of Ron Nirenberg? I think this is hilarious.
People own no guns, and the overwhelming majority of them show that they own guns. Mayor, here's a question. Do you own a gun?
I'm in the super soaker category there.
Okay. Why? Why don't you own a gun, Mayor?
Because it's not necessary for my life.
Okay. Okay. All right. Hey guys, so far we've been doing great. Everybody's been polite.
As of about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was in the super soaker category before that one as well.
Okay. Mr. Lopez, you got a gun?
Yeah, I've got a shotgun.
So he said he was a super soaker owner because he didn't need a gun in his life. And then someone in the crowd said, well, you don't need a gun because you've got bodyguards. And he's like, well, even before that, I didn't care for weapons or guns. So, look, I mean, you don't have to be a gun owner to be an American. I mean, I get it. I mean, no one's saying that. But you can tell in his voice and other questions that the mayor answered that night that he doesn't respect the right of gun ownership in our community. He's quoted as saying, if you can get one gun off the street, it's worth it. And I think it's a misguided policy, just not gun buyback. But this council has attempted in the past under Mayor Nirenberg to also limit gun sales in our city through zoning issues and other things. So we got to put our foot in the ground with the city council, and that means making sure we highlight what's going on down there. It was a great town hall. Great work with Mike Mahalski, Sons of Liberty Gun Works, showed up in force, and they stood their ground, right? So let's do a little bit of a lightning round here. Since we had such a good talk with Willie, if we could put up this Greta Thunberg here. We've got, pull up number 11 here. So, man, this is all over the news. So Greta Thunberg, I think it's Thunberg, is a Swedish 16-year-old climate activist. So this has polarized the nation and the world at this point. So she, about a year ago, decided to skip schools on Friday to protest a lack of climate action in Sweden. And over a year, she's built up quite a following. And then they had another one over the last couple of weeks where this school walkout, and millions of people across the globe were jumping into it. But she went to the United Nations Climate Summit and said some things. If we could play the tape just so you can see it. I want you to be able to see it.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? You are failing us. But the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future
pull that one,
generations
Charlie?
are upon you.
I'm feeling bad about driving a Tundra right now.
And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here.
Is it good?
Right now.
I got to tell you, that's some powerful stuff. And by the way, I feel really bad right now that I only get 8 miles to the gallon because Greta shamed me into my lifted Tundra problems. So look, this young woman, and no matter what happens, you got to give courage and credit and respect to anybody who's willing to jump out there and say what they think. And in today's world, you put yourself out there, it's coming your way. Heck, if you don't even put yourself out there, if you just say what you think, someone's going to come after you in this globe. It doesn't matter what's going on, especially with social media. But that speech has been troubling for a lot of people, but it has also been inspirational for just as many. So I think what we have to do with the BrockCast, and what I'm going to target for next Tuesday, is to dig deeper into, take the time to really jump into this climate action plan. Because San Antonio has Ron Nirenberg's Green New Deal on tap, and we've been talking about it, and it's open for a vote next month. So the Climate Action Adaptation Plan has been in the works for a year. They had costs associated with it. It was a multi-billion-dollar climate expenditure. They wanted to get cars off the roads. They wanted to kill combustible engines. They wanted to end coal plants. They wanted ozone, you name it. They were going to go after everything. Less concrete, more trees. I mean, they're going to list 1,000 things they were going to try to make citizens do. CPS Energy and SAWS, and over the course of a year, they've turned around now, and what's going to get voted on has no cost structure to it. We don't know what we're looking at, what we're going to pay for these things. We'll worry about how much it costs when we actually decide to do it. That's City Council and the Climate Action Team's answer. When it comes time to implement, we'll discuss cost then, and we'll cost it out. So, but we're still going to vote on this thing as a council next month, regardless of what it costs. So, when you see things like this with Greta, and put up some of the other posts here, and this is what I mean, it has caused, this was, this was a meme that came up here, right? If you think about this, someone sent this to me, and the only reason I showed it was because the young lady at the bottom had the gall to put herself out there as a Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez impersonator, and she got shamed off of Facebook, shamed off of social media, death threats. Like, they destroyed the little girl at the bottom for pretending to be AOC. But today we see, put the other one up about the president. Maybe we get down right there. Okay, look, the president took could be a veiled shot at the young woman today as well. She said, the quote right there, people are suffering, dying. And Donald Trump put, she seems like a very happy young girl looking forward to a bright and wonderful future. So nice to see. So, I mean, his tweet is dripping with sarcasm, but he got vilified, as did anybody who disagrees with this 16-year-old young woman. The problem with this is, if she put herself out there with this, I mean, you have to be prepared for the responses. Now, I'm not saying the president's response is right or correct or either way. Think about it what you want to think about it. But at the end of the day, she put herself out there. She is now open to the public discourse on her belief system and her history and where she comes from and how this. And there's a long history as to why she believes the things she believes. I think it's going to get uncovered over the next few weeks. But for us, what we have to look into and think about here is, it's a very split discussion. I'm willing to bet, though, most people in San Antonio, when they recognize how much the cost is for these climate action ideas versus what we know to be, right, the results and the gain from it, people will back off from that. But what's scary is the council's going to vote it anyways, not concerned about how much it's going to cost you on your CPS energy bill or you on your water bill. Your SAWS bills are going up to 40% over the next 3 to 4 years. Your CPS energy rates are going to go up, right? If you remove coal and other forms of energy production to do this Green New Deal path, we're going to see problems with that. So I think we're going to dig into it on the BrockCast, and we're going to go for it. So next week, we're going to spend a bulk of our time, pros and cons, of climate action plan. We encourage everybody. We'll try to find a couple people to come on, pro and con, and let's have a discussion about what is really going to go down here with the climate action plan. So big stuff coming our way on that one. Let's go to some of the big news of the day because we've got to move on through a couple of things here. Trump impeachment stuff. Man, this is going to be a popcorn-loving year for the political world. So today, Nancy Pelosi and the House team launched an impeachment inquiry into the president, mainly around this Ukrainian issue with the president withholding dollars, withholding aid, and allegedly forcing or encouraging or coercing the Ukrainian president and government to investigate Joe Biden's allegedly shady dealings with his son over Ukraine. So this one is going to be an interesting piece. So here's what I'm going to challenge us over the next few weeks to watch. I'm willing to bet, and I think what's going to happen here is we've seen this before. The Democrats, just like we saw when the Republicans impeached Bill Clinton. When they impeached Bill Clinton for the whole Lewinsky thing and whatever all that drama, which seems like a whole other lifetime ago, by the way. But when the Republicans did that, what happened to the Congress and the government? It swung the other way, right? Public opinion against impeachment, it was huge. So I think what we're going to see here is the Democrats have overplayed their hand in an attempt to answer a rabid base of people. Much like Republicans were challenged with the rise of the Tea Party, what we see now is Democrats challenged with the rise of Ocasio-Cortez and the liberal progressive wing. Ultimately, I would willing to bet, resulting in the nomination of Elizabeth Warren for president of the United States. And that Warren-Trump battle is going to be huge. So let's keep an eye on, is this going to backlash? Has the president lulled these Democrats into a trap? I don't know. I've heard that one today too. Or is this they're going to end it at no matter what cost? And now is impeachment, no matter what the president does, is impeachment always going to be there? I think what's happened is the Democrats have overplayed their hand, and this is going to work to the president's favor over time. Not advocating either way for Elizabeth Warren, for Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Donald Trump. I'm not advocating for anybody. From a purely political standpoint, let's watch and keep an eye on this. I think it's overplayed. They can't push the conviction anyways in the Senate. This is pure political theater, and we've seen what happens in the past when that goes down. Quick Castro update. I always got to throw in a Castro update because I don't understand the people in this city who think this guy is like the political god of Texas and the nation. Here's a Monmouth poll out of New Hampshire. New Hampshire's a huge first-in-the-nation primary. Look at that list of percentages for support. Yep. Castro's not even on the list. He's at 0.0. So he's even being beat by Williamson, the Love author. Yeah, so Tulsi Gabbard is beating him. Andrew Yang in all these polls. Tom Steyer, the billionaire that's come in. Amy Klobuchar. Cory Booker, who's looking to drop out. These folks are all out polling Julian Castro. So I always want to put something there because see if something changes. I think personally he's suffered now because of his shameful attack on Joe Biden. So he tries to play this game where he hits and he tries to pretend like he's the toughest guy on the stage. And I think the Biden attack has officially cost him. He can't even get to 1%. In any poll right now. He's struggling. So we'll continue the Castro death watch because I think at this point that campaign is on life support. And he may be able to continue on for another month or so. But look, nobody wants this guy to be president of the United States. And it always stuns me how people in San Antonio think he's some sort of political magician or something here. He's this great political leader. Guy was elected by 28,000 votes in his last election here in San Antonio. And then he moved on to HUD and cost us billions of dollars up there when he was part of Obama's cabinet. So he's got problems. Campaign's on a death watch. Let's keep an eye on it, and let's hope that ends a lot sooner rather than later so we can get down to the big fight which is coming, which is Politics 101. That's Republican-Democrat challenging here for the presidential nomination. And I think we got to wrap up here. So we're at 9:04, so we'll just skip to the memes. Look, this is what's gone on with the show. We want to have a big thank you to Willie Ng and what we're trying to accomplish with coming to 8 o'clock, Sharon moving a little earlier, is all about right now spreading information, having a good time, putting the hard facts out there on the table. And next week, I want to make sure people know that next week we're going to talk about climate. We're going to also discuss some human trafficking issues. That one's also really ratcheting up. People are having a lot of discussions about human trafficking issues. So let's touch on that one from a public safety perspective. And then anything you want as well, put it in the notes down here. Let us know what you want to discuss, and we'll get after it as well, and we'll add it to the list of things. But as we always do, we close out with some memes because we start with fun and we end with fun, and we should be able to say anything we want to think on here. And then as we move off the discussion, we remain friends, or at the very least, we hang out. We're good with the fact we disagree, right? So let's go some memes here. I love this one. Find someone who looks at you like Al Sharpton looks at Donald Trump. We tend to forget that the Donald was really, that Al Sharpton was very good friends with the Donald back in the 80s. I love this one here. Man appalled at date who lied slightly more than him online dating profile. If you don't follow The Onion on Twitter or social media, you are not doing justice to your life. Get after following The Onion. Next one. Yes, the left's climate change experts. Former bartender, high school sophomore. Someone sent that one to me. Had to put that one out there. Ocasio-Cortez and Greta Thunberg. Next. Dude, this one just cracks me up. I thought about my grandpa immediately. Both my grandpas. Grandpa asked server if they can break a two. I don't know why, man. I've looked at this one 10 times, and every time I see it, I think, that almost looks like my grandpa right there. The Grandpa Brockhouse from Illinois. Of course, the gratuitous Clinton death shot. We always put one eye on the Clintons. Michael Jackson, 18 hits. The Beatles, 27. The illustrious Elvis Presley with 34 hits. And, of course, Bill and Hillary Clinton, 34 confirmed and still counting. Oh, my God. Next. Oh, this is a good one. I'm not calling my rifle an AR-15 anymore. I'm going to call it an MS-13, so the Democrats will protect it. Oh, because we had Willie on tonight in honor of law enforcement. This guy driving his Viper. Do you know why I pulled you over? Yeah, because I let you. Classic. Look over there, son. More politicians making promises they'll never keep. Yeah, that's about right. Oh, and this one, I don't even know. I get a kick out of these in a bad way. I know it's bad, but these people who travel to these countries that we know to be sponsors of terror, North Korea, Iran. People go to these countries thinking they're going to go on vacation and change the world or do something different, and they end up getting hauled in or taken in. Western couple travels to Middle East to prove it gets a bad rap, ends up in Iranian prison. Like, that is out there. So they survive. Oh, this is a good one right here. Facial expression guide. This one was sent to me earlier, just today. I said, man, we got to put this one up. Look at the facial expression. Smile. And with the MAGA hat on, smug Hitler youth. Excited and hopeful, homicidal psychopath. Sorrowful baby, racist baby. Introspective, hollow and soulless woman. Sated, devours human flesh. And the baby with joyful innocence, MAGA hat on, punchable fascist. Yeah, that's in honor of the MAGA hat today. Beto O'Rourke, Employee of the Month at the Sons of Liberty Gun Works. I'm just kidding. That one was out there for you, Mike Mahalski. That's a classic one. We're never going to give up on him. And I just love this one right here. Me too, salsa. Me too. Medium chunky. That's kind of my life's motto right now as I'm going through jiu-jitsu. Name something that triggers the left. 100 points. Trump, 35. Patriotism, 20. Tax cuts, 15. Free speech, 8. Red hats, 4. Oh, Brett Kavanaugh rising high at 4 points as well. Personal responsibility in the Constitution. Is that it? Are we done? We wrapped them up? Oh, this one I couldn't get to you last week. This was one for Salo. Went ahead and got me some foot condoms in case I have to put my foot in somebody's blank today. All right, this is getting late, so the kids should be in bed by now. But I just thought that, with the broadcast, and we're calling people out, might be apropos to end the show with that meme. So, look, thank you. We appreciate all you do for us. We've gone for 1 hour. We're going to start coming in at 8 o'clock. We got to build this sucker. We got, I think it's like 11,500 people following us. We've got to get that to 20,000. Then we're going to get to 30,000. Then we're going to start talking. We're going to start voting, putting information out there. I'm going to let you know about elections. Go vote for whoever you want. Get out there, by the way, and register immediately. Make it happen. Sign up to vote. I'm not going to advocate for you to vote for anybody right now. I'm just going to tell you, go vote. Eventually, we'll have some debates. I'd like to bring some candidates in, let them go back and forth and have it out. And if you got a problem with me, come on the show. I dare you. Come on the show. Tell me what you think. Be man or woman enough to respond in kind and respectfully. Let's go back and forth, and let's debate the facts and issues. If you agree with me, come on the show. Even more so, come on the show as quickly as possible. Come on the show, and let's talk about issues, ideas, and the things that matter in San Antonio. City Council wasn't meeting this week, so we didn't have as much profile or information from them, but they're back next week, and we're going to have a ton of fun poking holes in what is absolutely one of the worst city councils we've seen in years. So we can't wait to get after it. Let's make it happen. Thank you. Like the page, share it, tag a friend, and let's keep the broadcast going. This is for you. And as always, we close this sucker with BrockCast out.